All right, this is going to be your Chapter 13 Learning Target number 4 and number 5 video. The first target here is I can find the measure of central tendency using mean, median, and mode. Now, this term, measure of central tendency, I mean, that might sound like a mouthful and be kind of confusing, but really it's just talking about the center of something or the middle. We're talking about, when we find mean, there's a reason we find mean. Like when we average your grades at the end of the quarter, that's finding the mean so that we can figure out on average what grade did they get all year long on all their assessments and review sheets, or whatever you get graded on your classes. Okay, median is just another way to find that center. It's all about finding a center of your number set. Okay, so a lot of these are going to be remedial, meaning you've learned these already. We've been doing mean, median, and mode throughout the year on review sheets. So this is just the basic finding of it, how to do it. So a mean, let's all write mean equals average. Okay, that's what I've been telling you all year long. When you find the mean, remember, you're going to add up all your numbers, and then you're going to divide by however many there are. So that's what it's showing here. It says the sum of a set of numbers, the sum of a set of items, but if it was 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 15, something like that, then you know that you would add 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 15, and then you're going to divide it by however many there are. Now, the big mistake that I've told you, don't write this. If you guys try to type this in your calculator just like this to find mean, and then at the very end hit divided by 7, it's going to do this first because your calculator follows PEMDAS, right? So it's going to do that. So you have to always remember it's the sum. So there's a couple ways to do this. You could do it like this. You could always put it in parentheses and then do divide by 7, or actually there's 6. I don't know why I put 7. Sorry. Regardless, you would then your calculator will add this first and then divide it by 6. Okay? Or you could just do 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 15. Just hit enter, and then once you have your sum, then you'll divide that by 6, or however many numbers there are. So there's your little, I guess, way to do it. For median, let's all write this. This would be the middle number. Okay, middle number. Okay, the middle number is another great source, and there's reasons to use some of these, and we'll get into that later on in learning target number 5. But these all serve a purpose. Okay, this is the most common one up here. Obviously, mean is the one that you're going to see most of the time in real life. I have a feeling if you asked your parents what mean was, they would probably be able to tell you how to find the mean or the average. If you asked them to find the median, they probably wouldn't know that, and they definitely probably wouldn't know the mode. Okay, so that's just the way it is, because the mean is all around us. As adults, we have averages all around us, so it's something that we're very familiar with in our real life, and really it's not even thought of as math. So middle number, just remember the biggest thing here when you're doing median. Let me go down a little bit so we can see this a little better. So we're talking about median. Okay, the first thing you have to do is you have to list them least to greatest. So if you have a bunch of numbers, 8, 7, 4, 3, 5, 12, 6, 2, all in a random order, you have to first of all put them in order. So let's say we had like 3, 5, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Okay, remember the middle number. We cross off the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, and bam, we have one in the middle. We have 3 cross-offs over here. We have 3 over here. Okay, so that is our median. That is the true middle number. Just like if I were trying to figure out the middle height in the classroom, I would put you guys shortest to tallest, and I would get rid of the smallest, then the tallest, smallest, tallest, until I got to the very middle person. Now, what always comes up is when you're finding median, and we've done these on review sheets, so this shouldn't, again, be anything new about this. Hopefully this is looking very, very familiar. But let's say you have, I think that was 10, it doesn't matter. Let's say I make that 12. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers. So you try to find the median of this. So cross off the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest. You can't cross that one off and say, oh, well, 8's my median. You can't do that. In this case, you can only have the same amount of cross-offs on each side. So we have 3 here, 3 here. We actually have 2 in the middle. So the way we attack these whenever you have 2 in the middle is the way I teach it anyway, is I always have my students draw a line down between. Now, I know in elementary school, your teachers taught you, well, whatever is directly between 7 and 8, that is going to be your answer. Well, that's easy when it's real basic like that. But what if your two numbers in the middle were 2.35 and 2.965? Do you guys know directly in between what's between those two numbers? No. So that method works for when you can just tell how far, like it's one whole number, so you know halfway would be 7.5. That one you can just do mentally. But when you have two numbers in the middle, you have to find the mean of the two numbers. Okay, so we just talked about mean. That is where we're going to add them up, 7 plus 8, which is 15. And then we're going to divide it by 2 because there are just two numbers there. And that is where we get 7.5. So it's the same answer, but it's just all about making sure we're understanding, because it's not always going to be nice and easy to where we can just see what's directly in the middle. So if there's an odd amount of numbers, you know there will be one directly in the middle, as you showed here. There's an odd amount, you can directly see that 12 is the median there. Okay, to go down to here, we have 2 in the middle. So then we have to figure out what's directly between, and I'll go down here so we can see the rest of this. Okay, see where the arrow is pointing? The arrow is directly between them. And what you're going to do, and as it says right here, when a data set has an even number of values, identify the two middle values. The median is the mean of those two middle values, just what I just told you over here. So in this case, you would do 12 plus 16. You would get 28. You don't have to write this because it's all right here below. And then you would take that, divide it by the two numbers, because it's just these two we're finding the mean of, and that's where we're going to get 14. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When it's an odd number of them, you're always going to have a middle. Okay, when you have 2 in the middle, or an even number, you're going to have two numbers in the middle, which you're going to have to do a little bit more work with. Okay, now we'll go down to mode. Okay, mode is the least used one of all these. I'll use the same language that you probably use, and you can write this. When you were in elementary school, I've heard people say most occurring. Okay, I've heard it as most repeated. That's a way to remember it. Or I've heard some teachers say most often, and that kind of goes with most often occurring. Regardless, it's all about a number that's where it's happening the most amount of times. Okay, so like here we have Ryan, and he's tossed a number cube numbered 1 to 6. So this will just be like a regular die. Okay, he recorded the data in the table. So the number tossed here was a 1. He only rolled 1 one time. He rolled 2 2 times. He rolled a 3 2 times. He rolled a 4 once. He rolled a 5 3 times and a 6 2 times. Okay, that was he rolled it. I don't know how many times. I don't think it says, but you could count up the number of times there and figure it out. But regardless, this would be a good opportunity to use the mode, because all the answers are going to be right around the same. So you can see he took this from the table. Notice that the number 5 appears most frequently. I guess I should add that one up here. Most frequent. There's another word, a way to remember mode. So he says the number 5 was the most frequent, which obviously 5 was rolled 3 times, so that is going to be your mode there. 5 is your mode. Now, what I've been trying to show you guys, and especially with this dot plot here, I've always showed you this throughout review sheets, is when you do this, the best way to do like a dot plot or even this is just to think about it. If he were actually rolling, he would have been like, okay, I rolled a 1 one time. I rolled a 2. That's 2 2s. What just happened? Sorry about this. I don't know where I went. I went way down. I think this was it. Okay, so here we go. We have, it makes a big long list. So he rolled a 3. How many times? He rolled a 3 2 times, so 3 3. He rolled a 1 4. He had 5 3s. And then he had a 6 and a 6. And that's what it would really look like. I mean, that's what the data would look like. Now, he took it and organized it into this table here, and then he turned that into a dot plot. And he found his minimum and his maximum, like we always do, so 1 and 6. And then he just went through and counted how many times it happened. You can clearly see that this here is your mode, okay? Because it's happening the most amount of times. 5 occurred the most often. Here, the problem that I've seen with a lot of you guys is when you're doing these, a lot of people want to say, when I ask what is the mode, people say 3. Because they look and see that 3. Well, that's not the mode. We're looking at how many times numbers were rolled. And that was rolled 3 times. So that is your mode. 5 is your mode, not 3. 3 is just the amount of times it occurred or it was repeated, or the amount of times that it frequently came up, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, remember, it's all about the data. Okay, we'll go down here, the next page. Now we'll get into mean, median, and mode in the real world. Okay, so this is where it really comes up, is really understanding these things. And test scores are grades are probably the easiest way to identify what a mean is, because that you guys can associate very simply with that. So it's an easy transition for teachers to use scores or grades as a way to find mean. So you can see this was Aaron's following math scores. He scored a 65, a 74, and an 80. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to add all those numbers up as they did right there. So they're going to do 65 plus 74 plus 80. Okay, and that's going to give us 219. And then you're going to divide that by however many tests there were. When you divide that, you get 73. So you get an average grade. So you can see here you got a D, here you got a C, here you got a B. Makes sense that his grade is a C, right? That's about in between a D and a C. So that's where that comes from. So that's just his average score on these tests. Okay? And there's that again that we talked about before. So once again, just make sure you don't do 65 plus 74 plus 80 divided by 7. It'll do this first and then add it. You'll get a number that doesn't really make any sense. Okay? Here we go. The table shows the temperature from Monday to Friday. Okay, so you got to find the mean temperature, so we'll just do that together right now. We know the first thing we have to do is we got to find a total. So we've got to add up the temperatures from every day. So we're going to do that. So it's 52 plus, well actually here, let me get my calculator out. Okay, and that is going to be 52 plus 51 plus 49 plus 48 plus 54, and that's going to give us 254 as our total. Now we know that we need to take that and divide it by however many temperatures there were, and in this case it's how many days there were, since there was one temperature per day. So we're going to divide that by 5, and then we're going to see what that gets us. So divided by 5 equals 50.8. 50.8 would be our average temperature, degrees, right? Now that makes sense. Look at the temperatures. We have a little bit over 52, 51, 49, 48, 54. Yeah, I would say that's pretty much right in the ballpark as far as an average day in there. So that's how that works. Now, if you would have done all of these added up and then divide by 5 here, you'd end up getting a number over 250. And that wouldn't make any, 250 degrees wouldn't make any sense, or 200 degrees wouldn't make any sense there. Okay. Find the mean plot using a dot plot. Now, remember, whenever you're given a dot plot, and if I ever give you a dot plot and I ask you to find the mean, the median, or the mode, the first thing you should do is you should list them out. I just like them listed. That's how I want you to do it, so I want everybody to write this. So that's 1 dot on 2, so that means there's 1 2-minute song. There are 2 3-minute songs. Okay? There are 2 4-minute songs. And then there is 1 5-minute song. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to add those up. 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 5. Okay? We're going to add it up. That's 5, 8, 12, 16, 21. And then we're going to divide it by how many songs there are. You can either count the dots or just look in the question. It's going to be 21 divided by 6. We'll do that real quick. 21 divided by 6 is going to give us 3.5. 3.5. So that's an average song is 3.5 minutes. So that would be not 3 minutes and 5 seconds, but it would be 3.5 minutes. So that's 3 minutes and a half a minute, which is 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which makes sense. It's about right. All right. Let me go down to here. Find the total and a missing number from the mean. Okay, now you can see what they did here. What they gave you is they said Geraldine recorded a set of 6 numbers and found the mean to be 11.2. Okay, after she accidentally erased one of the numbers, she only had 5 numbers left. So she has these numbers right here. You have to figure out the one that she accidentally erased. So look how they did that. You take the total of the 6 numbers equals the mean times the given amount of numbers. Okay, so that makes sense. We're basically doing backwards what we do when we find mean. So we know it's 11.2 times 6, which is 67.2. Then we're going to add up the numbers that we do have, which is 46, and then we're going to subtract them. And that's how we end up getting 21.2. Okay, so that might have been a little bit confusing, but you're missing one number. So you have the percentage, but you're missing one number. So you take the total, or to find the total of the 6 numbers, you're going to do the mean times the number of given numbers. So 11.2 times 6, because that is the mean. Remember, we usually do whatever the total is divided by 6, so now we're multiplying by 6. That's that. So that's what you know they added to. Then you've got to find the total of what you have left. So you add up all these numbers, the 5 that you actually have, give you 46, you subtract them, and that has to be your other number. Okay? We're going to go down here. We're gonna skip over these, I think. Those are pretty good, I think. If you'd like to try them, you can. But now we're gonna do a median question. So letter A here. Again, the first thing you do when you're given a dot plot is you should make the list. So that's gonna be 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and we're gonna find the median. Okay. So we're gonna cross off the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest. We have 3 there, 3 cross-offs there and there. My median is 2. Okay. Go down here. We'll do the same thing down here. Again, it's easiest when you just go ahead and make the list. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. We're going to cross off the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, the smallest, the biggest, and then we have 3 and 3. We can't cross this one off because that would leave us with an uneven amount of cross-offs. So now we have 2 in the middle. Okay, so we draw that line going down the center. Now we're going to do 2 plus 3, which is 5, and then 5 divided by 2, because there are 2 numbers there, we're going to get 2.5. That's one that you could probably just tell that 2.5 is halfway between 2 and 3. Okay, but you just got to keep in mind that that's the method you do it. You actually find the mean of them. Okay. Okay, so here's a little table going on here. Here's the times that Justin recorded for the track meet, for the 100-meter dash. You can see 9.8. It happened one time, and obviously somebody else finished at 9.8. So those 2 are gone because they already put that in there for you. Okay. Now for 10 seconds, we'll go through here. 10 seconds would be it happened. I see 1. I only see 1 there. So we'll eliminate that. We'll put 1 right there. Okay. Now we'll do the next time. We'll do 9.9. Okay. So 9.9 happened 1, 2, 3. So we should have a 3 there. Okay. Then we're going to have 10.1. That happened 1, 2. Okay. 10.2 would be 1 time, looks like. And then 10.3, it happened 1 time as well. Okay, so if we're trying to figure out the mode here, which time occurred the most often, clearly it's going to be 9.9 seconds. That's your mode. That occurred the most often or the most frequently, or however you want to say it. Okay? Now, this is the one case where using a dot plot for mode is actually the easiest one. It's actually very, very easy. Okay, so if you were asked to find the mode of this, you could list them out. I mean, that's a good habit to get into. I just think it helps to visualize it, and I'll do it now. And I would like you to write it too. But for mode, it actually does make sense that you can just look at the dots, and wherever you see more dots, that's going to be your mode. So Elise scored 11 points in each of how many frames? Okay, so let's look at this. I'll read the question now. Elsie likes to bowl. The dot plot shows her scores for each of the 10 frames that she bowled in one game. Each dot represents her score from 1 frame. Okay, so she scored 11 points in 2 frames because there are 2 dots there. Okay, the modes are going to be 8 and 9. Okay, 8 and 9. All right, which I think First of all, I think you just figured out, and you already knew this once again, but you can have multiple modes. You can have more than one mode. You could have 5 modes. You could have 6 modes. You could have different amounts. You couldn't have, I mean, what if I gave you this? 3, 4, 5, 7, 10, 12, 20, 30, and 31. If I gave you that, what's the mode? Hopefully you're all saying no mode. There is not a mode for that particular set right there, because there isn't one number that's repeated in there. Okay, not one. So this does not have a mode. So the mode wouldn't give us anything there. Okay, we're going to skip this. Yeah, that's it. All right. So I think as long as you understand mean, median, and mode, how to find it, the rest of it it's pretty, you guys can associate well with it because it's something that you use. So hopefully this video made a lot of sense and you guys will be ready to go on it. All right. See ya.